Oh my, what's this? A wonderful invention. It's a tiny little shot glass for putting schnapps in, but I'll just put a little bit of liquid in there and see what happens. The idea is you pick it up, you say cheers to people, and you drink it. Ice cold and delicious. Why ice cold? Because the vessel itself is made of ice. It's melting. Extraordinary idea. It's got a little blue band, a plastic sleeve to hold it with your hand so your hand doesn't get too cold. But what a lovely concept. And when you're in between drinks, you don't want to lose too much liquid. You put it in there to sort of pick up the drips, I suppose it is. How is it made? Well, here's the device which they issued. You fill a little bit of water in both, about half full. You place this on it, and that pushes the water aside and creates a cavity where the actual vessel of the thing is. When you put that in your deep freeze for a few hours, it becomes quite hard, iced. Take it out, give it a few taps in order to make them come out. So these pieces sit in there and wait in order to, well, it can be used for really quite a few minutes, actually, probably about half an hour before it melts. So it's a lovely way of having a bit of schnapps, chilled schnapps, and it's a very, very clever invention. So I'm looking at drinking vessels, of which that's one of the most interesting, I think, but there's a lot of other ones here which are equally bizarre and strange. This one here, for instance, is a lovely concept. You're supposed to roll it across the table and put some liquid in it. Well, let's put some liquid in it, shall we? If someone says to me, "Can I have a drink, please?" You pour their drink, whatever they've chosen to drink, and you push it towards them across the table. There we are, boom, 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 all the way across. And when they finish the drink, they roll it back to you like that, and you drink it. See, it's all right, put some more drink in it, and send it back to your friend. What a lovely idea that is, isn't it? So, a drink on wheels. Very nice. This is an interesting one. I've got about 3 or 4 different versions of this. This is a very nice one, though. It's a metal cup, which is quite nice and shiny, so it acts like a mirror. And this is a sort of distorted, well, you'll probably recognise the word from it, version of coffee. So the idea is when you put this on it, you see the word coffee appearing very clearly indeed, because it's got what they call cylindrical anamorphism. It's been distorted in certain ways that when it's looking on a cylindrical surface, it creates the proper perspective and it looks like normal words. A nice one, that's so a good version of a cylindrical anamorphic vessel. This is one I've had for many, many years. It's one of a series, I think, that came out about 1970s originally. It's got a little tiny ball bearing inside it, and would you believe when you look inside, of course, it's a roulette wheel, and when you give it a little shake like that, it puts it across into the middle and fits into one of the slots, and that's your bet won or lost, whichever it is. So put it on and roll it around like that, and it has another go at it. You give it a little shake like that and see what you won or lost. So it's a mixture of the game of roulette in a drinking vessel as well, so you can combine the two things, which is very often the case. This is a very cute little thing because it's a ceramic mug, and it's got a little space going right the way through of it with a little engine inside, the sort of thing which will delight children who love trains and engines. And this is also for Noel, for Christmas time as well, so you can see right the way through to the far side. You can put drink in it, and when you put the drink in it, you can enjoy a nice little cup of tea or coffee or something a bit stronger, and enjoy the sight, and certainly children would enjoy the sight of a little engine running through a mug, through a tunnel. A train and a tunnel in a mug. Wow, clever one. Here's a bizarre one. It's actually got 2 meanings, apparently. I would actually regard that as a joke version of high tea, wouldn't you? It's a drink that it's a meal that's common in northern England, where you have a hot meal and you call it high tea about 5 or 6 in the evening. But Germans also use it as a form of toasting, when they talk about Hochzeit like that. They pick it up and say "Hoch de Tass" like this, and it's a way of saying cheers. So that's what they've done here. They made it in a joke on the toasting, but I regard it as a joke way of saying, "Would you like some high tea? There's your high tea with tea in it." Very sweet little comment. Here's a well-known item which I think is still widely available. It's got tea in it, and it's got a cup underneath. That's very clever, because the heat from here can go down into the cup, means it warms the cup before you start drinking. It's always nice to have a warm cup to put the tea into, so there's not much of a shock to cool the tea. So a nice one, that. Good design. This is a strange thing. It's a glass vessel. It's not quite what you think it is, because it looks like a tankard, doesn't it? Or the Germans call this a Stein. It's a lovely beer Stein. In fact, there's a passage here which I can show with a pencil, going through there, through the handle, down to the bottom, into an inner layer there, which means it is a pure Klein bottle, extraordinary, or one surface piece with the liquid going through there, or the surface going through there, and forming the whole of the interior in between the two layers of glass. One surface, although it looks inside, it's actually inside-outside. Extraordinary idea. So, a lovely idea for Germans to say, oh, welcome to the Klein Stein. Cheers. This is one which a friend of mine has lent me, because I'd never seen this before. I would have bought it if I could. It's a way of choosing. You have to dial up your choice of coffee or tea or whatever it is by turning these pieces here. I'll take off some of the bands and you can see what the choices are. There's really quite a considerable number of choices here. This one here, I'm looking at latte, herb tea, hot chocolate, tea, coffee, decaf, etc., 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 etc. And the next layer down, if you take off the next band, it's going to tell you whether you want milk or cream or lemon or ginger. And the last one, which I won't take off, is about sweeteners, where you want it just a little bit of sugar or sweet or whatever it is. So the idea is you dial up your particular choice by leaving a little gap where you've made your choice, and hand it to the lady who's serving behind the bar to create your particular chosen drink. You customize the drink. Very nice idea. So each time you do it, they'll know exactly what you're asking for. Nice one. This is interesting. It's a ceramic bird attached to a cup. And it whistles too. When I do this, it makes quite a loud noise. But it's a cup, so it's got a whole liquid. And if you do hold liquid, you'll notice that there's a little hole just here. What happens then when you blow? Well, I'll have to show you. It's a very interesting effect, this, because I've had a toy of this for these in my collection for many, many years. You have to fill it up enough to cover that hole, which is about there, I think. Oh, I just put a little tiny bit more in from another jug. Yes, a tiny bit more. Now when we whistle, it instantly becomes alive and isn't that clever? So the air is going through the top of the whistle, but also going through the hole and making that lovely burbling sound. Very, very clever idea, that. I do love things which are well designed and well thought out, and that's a good example of one. It combines two well-known things, a drinking vessel with one of the little bird warblers, which I have many versions of in my collection. Beautiful. This one here is something that we've had from time to time on our website. It looks like nothing particular because it's rather odd design inside, but all becomes apparent when we put some liquid in it. Let's see what happens. Oh, look at that. A bunch of grapes instantly appears in it. Just to remind you, we're wine, if that was red wine, where it comes from. It comes from the grapes of the vine, of course. Very, very nice concept, that. And very well made, too. I love it. Things like that which are a little bit unusual. And then I've got a couple of jugs to finish with, which are actually leading into that. Let me just show one last mug, which is actually a mug and a jug. It looks like a mug, but actually it's got a little lip in it, which means it can be used for a jug as well. So it's straddling those two types of products, jugs and mugs. And I'm thinking that I've got through all the mugs I can find in my collection, and it's time to look at jugs. So that would be the first one. And I'll, by way of interesting you show the second two I'm going to have. And for these ones I need to have milk. The nice thing about these two designs of jugs is they're both designed by the designers to remind you where milk comes from. Milk comes from a cow. Where else? That's one I've had in my collection for about 20 years. But a friend of mine, Gerard Darby's, very kindly lent me his, which is also a jug for milk. It doesn't look anything like it because it's some double skin for a start. But it all becomes apparent when we pour the milk in. Let's pour some milk from the cow into it. And instantly you realise what the designer had in mind. Because at the bottom of the glass jug appears the cow's udder and 4 teats. What a lovely concept that is. A nice way of reminding children that milk comes from a cow. Well, a moo cow is what a child would say, I suppose, very sweetly. But it's a nice way of demonstrating a very unusual milk jug. So, what did I do with that tea now? Oh, here we are. I think it's time for tea, don't you? So let's pour a bit out. Yes, that's about right. That's about the right brownness. That suits me nicely. Must have a bit of milk for my designer. What? Whoa! Nice cup of tea. Cheers.